Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ice Cold Takes podcast. I am your host, Joey DeMeglio, and the waiting is finally over as Rangers top prospect Brennan Othmann has been called up to the NHL. Joining me today is the one guy in the fan base who knows more about Othmann than anyone else, Stat Boy Steven. Steven, I'm sure this is a very exciting moment for you. How are you doing?
Um, yeah. Look, I'm glad that he's getting his chance to play in the NHL. Um, Nice birthday gift by Drury because he's turning 21 tomorrow.
That's right.
So yeah, no, very happy about it. Spoke to some of his family members earlier. They're thrilled. So we'll see what happens. Looks like he'll be starting on either the third or the fourth line, depending on how you look at the lineup. But we'll see. We'll see what the ice time turns out to be. It's always tough to predict before the game. But in the morning skate, He was lined up with Brodzinski and Bonino.
Yeah. And that's third or fourth line. We're not sure about that as of right now. We don't know how Laviolette's going to deploy that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, I think since Pitlick is out week to week, um, I'm thinking this is probably most likely going to be like Othmann's role here. Like he's up here until Pitlick is good to go. Unless they just want to give him a cup of coffee, like a game or two, and they feel he's not ready, and they send him back down because they were taking it pretty slow with Othmann. They didn't call him up. I thought he had a really good preseason, but they took it slow with him. Let him play in the AHL, a little bit of time with Knobloch before Knobloch went to the Oilers, and now Steve Smith, right? That's the coach down there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So work in the AHL there with Hartford, and he was doing pretty well. I think he had 23 points in 29 games. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Something like that, and that also included a 6 or 7 game point drought early in the season, where he was very unlucky and nothing worked for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, I'm happy that he's getting his chance, but this is a typical Rangers thing to do, right? You call up one of your top prospects, you play him in a limited role just to get his feet wet, and then you take it from there. The Rangers are very conservative, very cautious when it comes to this, more so than other teams, which can be very frustrating for fans, of course. But it's just the way the Rangers do it. We can argue all day whether it's the right or the wrong way to do it, but if you look at the players in his draft class, and I spent some time earlier today looking up their time on ice in their NHL debut, you have Beniers with 1710, McTavish 1440, Matt Coronado 1438, Dylan Gunther 1433. Now those first two are the first and third overall picks, so I don't put too much emphasis on that. But like Cole Sillinger 1337, William Eklund 1401, Matthew Nyes with the Maple Leafs, of course, 1309, Isaac Rosen 13 minutes flat, Maki Samoskevich for the Florida Panthers 1234. So and then Ken Johnson 1105. So you see that other teams are very comfortable giving that type a player from that draft class like 13, 14 minutes in their NHL debut. I don't know if that's going to happen with Othmann. Of course, a lot will depend on special teams, and as we know, especially the power play relies heavily on that first unit. We're kind of back to where we were under Gallant, where the first unit plays like 80 to 90 seconds, and that second unit, unless there's like a clear around the 1 minute mark, they basically are left with they get leftovers on the power play. So if Othmann is on the second unit, I don't expect a lot of ice time to come from there. He's not going to be on the penalty kill, so it has to come 5-on-5. So
Yeah.
we'll see how much he gets. But yeah, happy for him. I think what the Rangers can expect from him, he's a very hard-nosed player. He's a pest. He gets under your skin. Opponents will hate him. He forechecks. He's not a great skater. He's not super fast, but he forechecks and he never gives up. And his shot is probably the best shot on the team
Already.
So yeah, this was his, like, if you have to name one thing about Othmann that's like his premium skill, it's his shot. And
Right.
everywhere he played, he's used it. He's deadly with it. And in preseason we saw it as well. When the Rangers were down and they pulled their goalie, Othmann was out there and he scored, I think, 2 goals with the goalie pulled during preseason. And that's kind of what you want from a player. Like, those are the moments where your clutch players step up. So hopefully that doesn't happen tonight. Hopefully we're not trailing late.
Against
Yeah,
Chicago
that's
of all teams.
yeah, but that's what you can expect. I do
Yeah.
like. On the other hand, I like that he's playing with Bernino and Brodzinski because they're defensively reliable players, and that's probably one thing that Othmann will struggle with a little bit early in the NHL, the defensive side of the game, as so many young players do. But yeah, Bernino and Brodzinski, he doesn't have to worry about defense with those 2 guys on his line, and he's Altman spoke to Vince Magliano this morning and said that it was actually Johnny Brodzinski who took him under his wing and explained some stuff to him. So he has a familiar face there because of course they played together in Hartford earlier in the season.
Yeah. This is I think it's a missed opportunity for the Wolfpack line. He played with Brodzinski, but maybe they could have done Othmann, Brodzinski, Will Cooley on the right side. I know Othmann hasn't played the right side in Hartford. He's been strictly left wing from what I've heard. So maybe they didn't want to put him on the right side, like in his first NHL game. Just play him wherever he's comfortable.
And that's fine. That's understandable.
Right.
First NHL game, you want to put him where the player feels comfortable.
Yeah.
And yeah, they did try him at right wing in preseason. He played some right wing in juniors and also in the pros overseas when he played in Switzerland in his draft year. He played right wing for Team Canada a couple of games and at the under 20s. And if you looked at him when he played in Flint, especially, he plays left wing, but he lines up on the right side a lot, especially offensively. So there's definitely familiarity there. It's not like he's an out and out left wing like Chris Kreider.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely an opportunity there if they need someone. The question is, how comfortable is the coaching staff putting a young player like Othmann or Cooley on the right wing when they see him as a left wing? Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a big deal. And even Capo Kakko said it in an interview earlier this season, switching from left to right is not a big deal. And Kakko can say that because in his draft year back in Finland with TPS, he played the majority of the games in Liga on the left. And then he comes to the NHL and plays on the right. And Pavel Buchnevich played on the right in Russia, played right wing for the Rangers for 5 years, goes to St. Louis, moves to the left and becomes a point per game player. So I do understand why people say you cannot count on a player making the transition, but it's also not set in stone that it's impossible. And even with centers, look at Sebastian Aho. He played wing in Finland. Hedo played wing in the Czech Republic. Kevin Hayes played wing in college. Players move to different positions. It happens. There are also players who are not comfortable moving. But it's not like it's a one size fits all approach where you say, well, you've played left wing for the last 2 years, so you cannot play right wing. Mm-hmm. Alexander Holtz, 6th or 7th overall pick for the Devils in 2020, played right wing for Joe Gordon in the SHL, but then left wing for Sweden in the World Juniors. And then when the scouting reports came out ahead of the draft, he was listed as a left winger, which I always thought was funny because he did play the majority of his games right wing. It was only for Sweden he played left wing because of Lucas Raymond.
Yeah.
So yeah, the versatility is there, and Othmann has said it several times, and he's also played right wing. So it's not like he's never played it.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the first game, put him on left wing, and I wish he would have gotten a bigger role. But on the other hand, I also understand you cannot break up the top 6 with how they've produced. Yeah. Even though I think production itself is not a super reliable statistic to look at performance because there's so much more to hockey than just putting up points. It goes a long way, but there's more to it. But yeah, Kreider, Zibanejad, Wheeler stay together. Panarin, Trocheck, Lafreniere stay together. And this is what you can expect from Laviolette. He doesn't really change the lines that much, as we saw under Gallant and under Quinn and under Alain Vigneault, and even going back to Tortorella. Peter Laviolette just sticks to a lineup, and if you have a bad game, you have a bad game. I remember a couple of weeks ago, the Rangers played a game where in the final 5 minutes, Schneider and Gustafsson gave up a terrible goal. They were benched for the final 5 to 6 minutes of the game. and the next game they're back in the lineup. And I kind of like that. Players don't have to walk tiptoe around a coach and be worried about them losing their spot in the lineup because they make one or two mistakes. I do like that, and I think the players like that too.
I think Laviolette too is good. He will give an extra shift here and there to someone that's playing really well. Like Panarin, for example, he'll double shift him. Lafreniere, I've even seen it this year. Even recently, he's gotten shifts with Kreider's Zibanejad. He's gotten like an extra shift or two.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't think it's out of the question, even though Othmann's not lined up in the top 6 for his first game. If he's playing really well tonight, let's say, for example, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a bump up for a shift or two, maybe with like Panarin or the top line, like, and Wheeler gets a shift down or something like that. I think if he's playing really well tonight, if he's throwing the body, forechecking, maybe not, he doesn't even have to score, but he's just playing well. Maybe Laviolette will throw him a bone. You know what I mean? I don't think that's out of the question.
And you always have a couple of shifts after the power play and after the penalty kill where you have combinations that are the same as they are on paper, because you have to put a line out there. And if Kreider and Zibanejad come off the power play, who are you going to put Wheeler out there with? So then you might see, I don't know, Bonino, Othmann, and Wheeler for a shift just to give Kreider and Zibanejad a bit of a rest after the power play. But in general, Bonino and Brodzinski will be his line mates if the morning skate is any indication. I'm just happy that he's making his NHL debut. And he shares a birthday with my wife. So when the game starts tonight at midnight, it'll be January 5th, and it'll be Othmann's birthday here when he's on the ice.
That's actually January 5th is my brother's birthday too. So
there you go.
So hopefully Othmann gets a goal tonight in preparation for his 21st.
Edstrom got a goal in his NHL debut a couple of weeks ago. If you remember. And before that, the last Ranger to make his debut at the Garden and score was Elias Anderson. So
I remember that game.
So let's hope the same storyline is in the books for Othmann for his debut. Let's hope he gets a goal. But if he doesn't, on the one hand, I want him to score a hat trick and do well and be on the first line. But on the other hand, I'm also realistic enough to say that if he doesn't score a goal, he is turning 21 tomorrow. He still has a lot of room to grow. But as a fan, I'm impatient. But as a neutral hockey fan looking at it, I can look at it, take a step back, and go, okay, even if he doesn't score a goal, still going to be a great night for him, and build from there. And it's kind of similar to Will Cooley last year. Will Cooley got, I think, 4 games around the All-Star break, just to see how he would handle himself, how he would do. I think that's kind of the same thought process here with Othmann. But for him to make his NHL debut at the Garden is going to be great. There's some other factors to it as well. He's playing his debut against the Chicago Blackhawks with his former teammates Connor Bedard and Kevin Korchinski, who he won the World Juniors gold medal with. Of course, he has Cooley on the team, who he won the gold medal with at the World Juniors. So there's, aside from like the guys he played with in Hartford this year, there are some familiar faces for him out there on the ice tonight.
Bedard's first game at MSG. Hopefully he doesn't torch the Rangers.
Let's hope it's not like Panarin's first game at MSG.
Gosh, remember that?
Did you know, by the way, like just a quick detour here, Artemi Panarin has recorded 6 hat tricks in the NHL, and all of them involved the New York Rangers. The first 2 were against the Rangers at the Garden, and the other 4 were for the Rangers.
Of course. It's the bread man. They're gonna retire his jersey when he retires. His jersey gets retired twice because of multi-point Panarin. But with Othmann, you kind of want that. I get what you're saying. Like, you want the hat trick as a fan. You want that debut, like the Braden Schneider debut from a couple years ago.
When Edstrom scored in the final seconds of that game, I must have woken up some neighbors. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
that was great. And Edstrom is another guy that I've been following for years, sharing his. I've included him in the recaps for years. So to see him get to that level and actually score a goal, that's really cool. I got to interview him a couple of times, and to see him score a goal at the Garden in his debut, that's special. And
Mhm.
if the same thing happens for Othmann tonight, I'm going to be so happy, over the moon. So
If
let's
you
hope.
look at internal replacements for Heedle if he's out for the rest of the season, and the Rangers for whatever reason don't want to go acquire a player, I think Edstrom's number one on that list for a replacement. Even though we've only seen one game, I told you this a couple weeks ago or maybe last week. He leads the Rangers in penalties drawn for 60 minutes.
Yeah, small sample size, but we'll ignore it this time. No, Edstrom played center and left wing in Europe, and he's a guy that in his first game at the Garden did not look out of place. He did not look like a player making his debut.
Nope, not at all.
And I think he's like, I don't have anything to back this up because there's no way I can possibly research this, but I'm going to go on record and say Adam Edstrom is the only player in NHL history to have his rookie lap after he scored his first goal.
Yeah, well, good luck trying to find that.
There's no way to research it, so it's a claim I can easily make. But yeah, he had his rookie lap in a second game because the first game he was a game time decision, so he didn't have the rookie lap.
Yeah, and who else? Yeah, try and research this one too. Who's had their rookie lap and not played in that game?
Oh, right. Yeah, that's another layer to it. Yeah,
exactly. Because
he's definitely the first player to score his first goal before his rookie lap, and his rookie lap was in a game where he didn't play. That's 100%. He's the only one.
Yeah, that's a needle in a haystack, right? That's like
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, the NHL's been around for over 100 years. But never happened before.
Replacements for Heedle internally, it's probably Othmann, and down the line maybe McConnell Barker. But
really, McConnell Barker, you would include in that? I don't know, man. I don't know about
like
that.
Down the line, I'm talking about down 2-3 years from now.
Oh, 2-3 years from yeah.
Down the line. I'm not talking about at the end of the season.
No. Okay.
He's dealing with an injury now as well, but like the center depth in our prospect pool is not that great.
No, they definitely.
We have a lot of wingers, we have a lot of goalies, but defensemen and centers, that's not our strong suit. So we definitely need to either acquire someone in a trade, sign someone in free agency, maybe an undrafted guy out of college. I don't know. But for this season, I honestly think the Rangers are going to trade for a center. If they know Heedle's not coming back during the regular season, they're going to make a trade for a center at the end of January. And I was actually listening to Vince Mercogliano's podcast the other day, and he was talking to Jeff Marek, who brought up an interesting point that in the last couple of years, what you see is that teams are making the big trades early. They don't wait until deadline day anymore. Last year there was Bo Horvat who was traded to the Islanders, I think on February 1st.
That was an early trade.
Tarasenko last year to the Rangers was a couple of weeks before the deadline. The year before it was the same with Frank Vetrano. So the impact players, if you have the cap space, and the Rangers will have the LTI space if Heedle is out for the season, if you have that cap space to work with, it's almost too risky to wait for the deadline. So teams will just pull the trigger a couple of weeks early.
Right. If Heedle makes it to the trade deadline and the Rangers make a trade for someone with a high cap hit, Heedle's not coming back for the rest of the regular season. They won't be able.
No, but I think
unless they trade like Goudreau, which is probably not going to happen because teams are going to want you to eat some salary or throw in a sweetener, and I don't know if the Rangers are going to want to do that.
I would rather buy him out than retain salary or add assets to get rid of him.
I saw that yesterday. I think in the second or third, I think in the third year, it would go on the Rangers books is at least $3 million. It would charge the Rangers in the penalty.
Of course, but and that's you never get out of a buyout looking good. But If the Rangers are looking for a center, that they probably know internally already whether or not Hito comes back. They may not have said anything like in public, but internally they probably already know.
Hmm. Yeah. I don't know. We haven't seen the Rangers abuse or take advantage of. Let me phrase it like that. Take advantage of the LTIR pool money that
No,
other teams have done in the past. But the player has to not be healthy. Like can't be healthy to
yeah,
play.
and this
They
is
have
this
to
is my this is
last
my
until the
issue.
playoffs.
This is my problem with the LTIR rule, because as far as I can tell, and I've read through the CBA, as far as I can tell, there's no rule that states that a player has to come with LTIR if he's healthy. And I think that's an issue. And I don't want to go off topic too much, but I wish the NHL would introduce a rule where if a player is deemed healthy by an independent doctor and healthy to play, he has to be activated within 24 hours. Otherwise, he's ineligible for the playoffs. So what Tampa Bay did with Kucherov, what the Blackhawks did with Kane in 2015, that was the first time it happened. Everyone forgets about that one. But they traded for Antoine Vermette, and then they activated Kane the first day of the playoffs. But he was an LTIR, even though it was good to go. There should be a rule added to it where if the player is healthy, he has to be activated. And if you cannot do it within 24 hours, that player should not be eligible for the playoffs.
And it should be in advance of the playoffs too. Like you should do it a week or two ahead. Like there should be a cutoff that you have to
Yeah,
say
and
like
and
this
this is
player is going to be ready.
but this is why it should be independent doctors and not team doctor. You cannot have a doctor on the team's
This is
payroll make that decision.
biased. Yes,
So
absolutely.
I
Yeah,
don't
no,
think
I
that's
get
going
what
to
you're
happen.
saying. I get it. Yeah, yeah. I think that's fair. I think
Yeah.
that's fair.
I don't think it's going to happen because in 2015, the Tampa Bay Lightning of all teams actually opted to have the rule changed, and none of the other 30 teams voted in favor of it.
And then they went on and used it, bro.
So if yeah, exactly, so then Tampa uses it and everyone loses their marbles, but they were the only team that wanted to change the rule like 5-6 years prior, and nobody wanted to change it. So
That makes them
anyway,
smart.
to circle back to the Rangers, if Hito's out for the season, they already know they're probably going to target a center to replace him, because you cannot really go into the playoffs with Bonino and
No,
Goudreau as your
absolutely.
bottom six centers.
Yeah, I would like to say Benino has looked out of place on the third line. He can no longer do what he did for Pittsburgh when he won the two cups. He
Yeah,
can't play that way. He doesn't drive the offense. He's good defensively. I like that he wins faceoffs and block shots. I love that about him, but he's not a third liner. And
yeah.
Barkley Goodrow, I've
Well,
spoken.
neither is Goudreau.
Yes, but wait. Hang on. Let me say what I was going to say about Goodrow. I've gone on this show previously and spoken very highly of Barkley Goodrow. I used to like him a lot. I thought he was a great player. I thought he brought a lot to the table. I thought he would force the opposition into taking bad penalties. I thought he was producing. He's not an effective player anymore. This season, he is struggling mightily. It's hard to notice him. Offensively, he does nothing. Defensively, he leaves a lot to be desired, and it's really difficult that we have to admit this now, but I mean that $3.6 million, it's a huge detriment to where the Rangers are right now. I mean, there are plenty of players that could do the same things that Goudreau is doing right now, or even better than what Goudreau is doing now for much cheaper. Unfortunately, Goudreau has regressed a lot this season.
Mhm.
In the past couple seasons, I was fine with it. Last year, I was starting to get a little fed up with him. First season, I was fine with, but he's not an effective player anymore. The Rangers, it would be wise if they could find a replacement, but it's not going to be easy because no team has cap space, and it's not like they're going to be able to take on a contract like that. There's 3 years after this year left on the deal, $3.6 million cap hit. It's going to be very difficult to move that.
Yeah.
So what Steven's saying, maybe a buyout. But Hedel went home. Back onto Hedel. Hedel went home to reset back to Czechia. they use the word reset to clear his head and stuff. Work in a place he's familiar with. I think they expect him back in New York before or after the All-Star break. I don't know if that means he's going to be with the team, but if it's a concussion, which it probably is, I don't think that he should be playing until the end of the regular season.
Yeah,
Because this
he
is
probably will.
probably he's had multiple concussions now, and it's not good. It's like concussions are really, really bad to deal with in hockey for sure. Um, if he comes back too early and he's not the same player, then you're handicapping yourself. You're not going to be able to acquire a player that's going to help you. So if you use the LTIR space, you could go after a guy like Elias Lindholm.
Mhm.
I don't know if the
Oh no,
Rangers.
no, you had it right the first time, Elias.
Elias? Okay, I was right.
Elias Lindholm, yeah.
All right, good. I have to make sure I'm pronouncing the names before Steven gets mad at me. Um, but you go after a guy like that, then your center depth is Zibanejad, Trocheck, and Lindholm.
Yeah.
How much better is that than what you have now? And then you could bump Bonino down to the fourth line and Goodrow's your $3.6 million press box healthy scratch.
Yeah, and if Hedl comes back in that case, you still have the option of putting him on the wing. Because offensively, he's a guy that can definitely help a Kreider's advantage at line. If he comes back. That's a big effort. Hedl, yeah.
Yeah. Also, Capo Caco returned to practice on Thursday, which is today. He's wearing a non-contact jersey, so that's a very, very good sign. I think he's coming back sooner I think they'll activate him before the trade deadline. More confident in saying that than saying the Rangers.
Caco was on the ice with a non-contact jersey today, so it's still a couple of weeks away for him, but it's progress.
Mm-hmm. He had Caco. All right, with him, it's interesting because I thought he was going to be really good this season. I thought he was going to have his breakout year. He was not effective offensively. But if you look at the numbers, the underlying numbers and the advanced analytics, they say that the Kreider's advantage were doing way better with him than they are with Wheeler.
Well,
it's hard to just, I don't know. What do you think about that, Steven?
Without getting into advanced analytics, because it's very difficult to explain that on a podcast like this. Without getting into advanced analytics, if only you look at like raw production 5-on-5 when those three were together. When those three played together 5-on-5, Caco had 2 points, Kreider had 2 points, and Zibanejad had 1 point.
In how many games? That's at least 10 games.
That was, I think it was 10 or 15 games.
Right, 10 or 15 games. That's not good enough.
I'm not saying Caco is the solution for that line, but he's definitely not the issue. He's not the outlier in a negative way on that line. And that line just didn't work. Like the expected goals were there and the advanced analytics showed that they were really good, but like expected goals are not going to win you games. Like short term at least. Long term it's something you can build on, but expected goals are not going to win you games. So they had to make a change. And I wish we reached the point where Kreider and Zibanejad will be broken up because it has lasted way too long. Those two have been together for way too many years, and 5-on-5, they've never been good. They've been decent with Buchnevich. They've been decent with Vetrano, but they've never been good 5-on-5. But unfortunately, we're not there yet. So the change you're going to make is right wing. Wheeler comes in, and Wheeler has really stepped it up the last couple of weeks.
Yes, he has.
He's really improved. Really happy about that for $825,000. He does everything you could have wished for a contract that cheap. But if Caco comes back, I guarantee you this team's going to be better defensively. Because if you look at the Rangers without Caco, they're 10-6-0, and I think they were 15-4-1 with Caco before the injury.
The Rangers are 7-6 in their last 13 games, believe it or not.
So he may not show up on the score sheet a lot this season, but, and this is what we said earlier as well, there's more to hockey than just putting up points. And you cannot with a straight face say that the Rangers are better with Brodzinski than they are with Kako.
Mm.
I'm sorry. I like Brodzinski, but he's not a better player than Kako.
Exactly. No, yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely. Yeah. I think Kako in a third line role is certainly better than
that hot streak Brodzinski was on when he was called up was great, and I put him on my team in fantasy, and I got some great value out of him for a couple of weeks.
I bet you did.
But he's on the third line now, and the Cooley, Bonino, Brodzinski line doesn't have any offense.
No, it's there's not much it could do. I mean, like Cooley could forecheck, and they could create a couple chances, but
this is
not going to score a goal.
Yeah, this is why I kind of understand the positioning of Othmann a little bit. Bonino and Brodzinski haven't really produced when they play together. Maybe Othmann can add some offense to that line. And Cooley essentially replacing Pitlick on the fourth, where Cooley and where VZ moves to the right. But we don't know which is the third and which is the fourth line. Well, we'll see what happens tonight. But yeah, we'll see. It's oh man, what time is it? 7:30. Still 4.5 hours to go.
Yeah, 2:33 here. With if they break up Kreider's advantage ad, maybe Othmann's advantage ad Kakko, something like that, and then you would do like Kreider, Trocheck, and like Blake Wheeler, and then Panarin, Needle, Lafreniere.
Earlier in the season, I would have put Cooley on the top line with Zibanejad because I think that's the type of player
playing that well. Actually, yeah, he was playing really well.
Yeah,
I still like him. I think Cooley's still playing really well.
And it's not about how good he is as a player, because lineups are more than just putting your three best players on the top line and then your next three best players on the second line. It's more complicated than that. You need players that mesh well together. Mm-hmm. Cooley, the way he plays, I think would definitely benefit the lines Zibanejad is on. But yeah, we're not going to see that, unfortunately.
That's when I went to the preseason game. The Rangers played the Islanders. The line at the top line they used for that game was Othmann, Trocheck, and Kakko. That one looked really, really good. That line looked great.
Yeah.
I would love to see that make a return, but I don't know how it would be in the regular season.
Well, that's why it's preseason, right?
No,
you try it in preseason, and
right. It worked really well though. Like they played really well. But again, it was preseason. You're up against looser competition, so I mean you got to take it with a grain of salt. There's definitely players the Rangers should go out and acquire. I think they got to get a replacement for Braden Schneider. I think the experiment is done. I hate to say it.
Yeah, look, I get attacked.
I like the kid. I always thought pretty highly of him. Yeah. I always defended him, but it's getting to that point now where it's like, all right, man, like this guy might have reached a ceiling, and
he like I got criticized on Twitter I got attacked on Twitter for criticizing Schneider's recent performance, but he's just not cutting it at the moment. Like it might, and this is why I wouldn't mind him being a healthy scratch for a game or two, because a healthy scratch is not always a punishment.
No,
a healthy scratch can be a very valuable lesson for especially a young player like Schneider. You get to sit in the press box, you get to see your teammates from that top-down view, where and this is different than going over video footage. Like you sit in the press box, you watch the game, and you can learn from that. And a healthy scratch is not always a punishment. That's my main point. But yeah, the way Schneider is playing this season, it kind of reminds me of Del Zotto and his regression. Hopefully that's not the trend he's on. And he's still young. He's like 22? Yeah, 20. I think he turned 22 or 21.
He's 22.
22. 22. Yeah, he turned 22 a couple of months ago. He's still young, especially for a defenseman. But it's okay to call out a player if he's not having a good game. That doesn't mean you're a bad fan. That doesn't mean you hate the player. Like Schneider has had some bad games. To be perfectly honest, Fox has been pretty bad since he came back from his injury too.
Yeah. Definitely not as effective, even though he's putting up the points. He doesn't feel
the only good defenseman we have recently that's consistently good every game is Trouba.
Yeah, believe it or not, actually, Trouba's having a pretty good season.
The guy who was almost bullied out of town last year is consistently our best defenseman the last month and a half.
It's the way the captain's got to play. No, like even Lindgren has been spotty.
Lindgren's been
No, for real,
spotty.
everybody has been spotty. Gustafson, who is reliable, he's making mistakes.
Yeah.
Schneider's making.
Gustafson had his best games when Fox was out.
Yeah, he played like a madman when
Yeah.
Fox was out. But Gustafson was great, even on the power play. He was fine. He
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah. And look, I know this was also a controversial thing to say when Fox came back from his injury, but I wanted Fox on the second power play unit because that first unit was working already, regardless of who the defenseman was. They were scoring goals with Gustafson. But what I want as a fan, I want my team to have two good units.
Two good units, yeah, instead of just
not just one. Because, look, tell me I'm wrong, but the moment the first power play unit goes to the bench, there's no reason to watch the next minute, right? Just go to the kitchen, pour yourself a drink. That's what I do.
It's like that's the moment like where you need to go to the bathroom, but you don't want to wait for the commercial break.
Exactly.
You go there.
Bathroom break is when the second power play unit comes on.
No, you're in the right for saying that, absolutely. Because you have AHL guys on. You have Brodzinski out there. Heedles is injured. Kakko is injured. They're not even using Miller. Like there's not much there.
No.
So I mean, if you want to spread it out a little bit more, then go ahead. I would do that, like a 1A, 1B type thing. But I don't know. That would have been a interesting idea to do. I don't know about if it would have been Fox to use him.
Because look, Fox is the player that can turn that second unit into something.
That's true. That's true. But also you would have to divide the time up wisely. Like the first line would have to shoot for a stoppage. Like they'd have to shoot into the glove.
Yeah, but
get a stoppage.
Joey, if you have two competent units, as a coach, you are comfortable to start either unit. You can start the second unit, and then and this is what I think coaches should take more advantage of. Start this, especially at home when you have the last change. Start the second unit on the power play. I know it's controversial. I know it's out of the box, but hear me out. You start the second unit on the power play, right? You go up against their first PK unit. It's going to suck. It's going to suck. But 30 seconds later, what are they going to do?
Your
first unit comes on. What are they going to do? Are they going to change for their second PK unit? Or is their first PK unit going to stay on for a long shift? And that's where you can strike.
It's a war of attrition. Yeah,
exactly.
That's what you would. Yeah, that's a smart move. That's a smart move. And if you have like Fox out, okay, so in like taking what you said, like if you have Fox on that second unit and you start with there, that would make that first unit work hard. So
because you still have Panarin as a playmaker on that first unit
to make a change and bring out their second unit to match the Rangers' first unit.
Yeah, like at the end of last season, after the deadline, the Rangers had Kane and Panarin on the second unit.
That was the one time they had a 1A.
And the first unit I think was Zibanejad, Kreider, Tarasenko, Hedl, and Fox.
Yeah.
And the second unit was Panarin, Trocheck, Kane, Lafreniere, and Miller, I guess, or Trouba. Miller or Trouba.
Yeah.
But and I actually kept count of this. When they had those two units, they were 10 for 27 on the power play.
Pretty good.
Yeah. When Gallant switched back to what I call the All-Star unit, Kreider.
Oh, yeah, wait, remember? Yeah, I forgot about that. That's when they started struggling.
They were 3 for 31 when they switched back to having a top unit and a shit unit.
My God, yeah,
they went from 10 for 27 to 3 for 31.
I think that's what Callahan was complaining about in the playoffs that one game. I think he complained about that. That was one of the things he said.
Because for opponents, once you figure out how to play against our first power play unit, you're winning. Look at Carolina last game. If you figure out our first unit, you're done. Easy. Easiest assignment in hockey. When you play the Rangers shorthanded, all you have to find is one solution because the second unit doesn't do shit. How many goals does the second unit have that weren't deflections this season?
You can count on one hand. How many goals does the second unit have this year?
I think 3.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know the last one by Lafreniere was definitely a deflection.
The one goal that the second unit had was the Brodzinski goal against the Kings. That was nice.
Yeah.
That was it, though. That's the only one that I could remember. Like, Lafreniere had one in Calgary, I think. And then I think Lafreniere had 2 power play goals this year, actually.
Yeah, and I think both were deflections, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So only one shot has been a
yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wait. Evan brought this up. Ranger Central. Wheeler had a goofy tapping goal at one point at home. Yes, that was the Minnesota game. I remember. That was his first goal as a Ranger. Yes. Coming back to me.
Give me 2 competent units and I'm happy.
Yeah. So the Rangers are going to have to make an upgrade there. I think they're going to have to make a trade.
And if you go for Lindholm, I know. Look, I'm not saying it's going to happen because he is the name out there, and other teams are going to be interested as well. But Calgary is going to go on a fire sale. So Lindholm, if you can get him, man, all of a sudden it's a lot easier to split up your players on the power play.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then you could, if you want to put Trocheck and Zibanejad on the first unit, you can, because you're going to have Lindholm on the second unit.
You can have Lindholm and Hedel on the second unit, and I still want to see Panarin on that left dot with a shot, especially the way he's shooting this season. But you can only do that if Zibanejad and Panarin are on separate units.
Yeah, like puts it. Yeah, I think that's fine. I would put Panarin on like the first unit, and then like Zibanejad in the same spot on the second unit. What's that?
So the first unit would be Kreider, Zibanejad, Zibanejad, Trocheck, Gustafsson, and Lafreniere, for instance.
Yeah.
The second unit would be Cooley, net front, Panarin, Lindholm, Kakko or Othmann with a shot if he's on the team.
Yeah, or Othmann, yeah, if he's
and then Fox quarterbacking the second unit.
Yeah, that would be good.
Spread the wealth, and you have 2 good units.
But you know what it would take?
It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen.
You know what it would take for that to happen? It's like the Rangers' power play would have to struggle mightily to even consider a change like that, because the Rangers' special teams this year has been really good. So all right. So I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna be like, okay, production is like doesn't constitute, that it's not like unbreakable. You know what I mean? Like,
Joey. Here's the thing. When you look at power play success, right? Do you include power play goal when you're already up 4-1?
I mean, I wouldn't,
because for me, and I don't know, I probably have to look if this is already tracked. If not, I might just do a manual search for the season. I want to see what the Rangers' power play percentage is in close games, where you're either up by a goal, down by a goal, or tied. Because for me, scoring a power play goal when you're up 4-1, like against Tampa, is meaningless.
Yeah. Okay. Like it's a stat pattern. Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's stat padding. Like, to me, that shouldn't count towards how successful your power play is.
So how many goals, like stat padding power play goals, do you think the Rangers have had?
I don't know. I'd have to look that up. But if you are already up by 2 goals, I think a power play goal should not be.
I mean, it's big because you don't want them to come back in the game, but like in the grand scheme of things, like
no, I get that. But close games, so 1-goal games or tied games, those are much more important situations for your power play to get you a goal.
Yeah. I understand. Yeah, I get it. But I don't think a coach is gonna say like, this we're this power play is gonna. I don't think a coach is gonna look at that. I think
No,
a
but
coach is
look,
gonna look and see like, all right, we're first in the league in power play or whatever,
of course, I
and
get
gonna
that, but
hang their hat on that. I'm not saying
yeah,
that's right. I'm
no,
not saying that's right. I agree with you. I agree with you. But
there
I'm
is a
just
shift
saying
though.
that's what it would take for the Rangers to
Yeah.
make that change.
There is a shift though in how teams are evaluating statistics. There is definitely more of an emphasis on situational importance. It's I don't think teams look at it the same way they did 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely a shift. But it's kind of like having the game-winning goal in a 7-1 blowout.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so you were just lucky enough that your goal was the second of your team in a 7-1 blowout. It's like game-winning goals to me. Like if you score the game winner in overtime, or if your game-winning goal is the last goal in the game, yeah, that's a genuine game-winning goal. But if you score the first goal of the game and your team goes on to win 6-0, I know technically it's a game-winning goal, but I don't give a shit.
Right. No one's gonna go back and remember that.
That's to me that's not what a game-winning goal should be.
Yeah, there should be a little bit. There should be nuance in that. So yeah, like what you're saying makes sense. Like how they're evaluating the players and stuff.
It's the same with power plays.
Yeah.
Like if you score a power play goal when you're down 1-0, or you score a power play goal where you're tied 2-2, that matters way more to me than if you score one when you're already down 5-0 with 4 minutes to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of evaluations, we have to talk about the World Junior Championships because Gabe Perreault, Drew Fortescue, and Adam Sikora were the Rangers representatives in the World Junior Championships.
Yes.
What I haven't kept up with them, honestly. So at what point are we in right now? Are we in the bracket stage?
Semifinals were today. Sweden beat the Czech Republic, and the US is down 2-0 against Finland.
Ooh. Time for a natural hat trick.
Yeah, so hopefully a Perreault hat trick to turn it around. I think they're halfway through the second period now. But yeah, look, Perreault and Fortescue are doing okay. They're not like putting up amazing numbers, but they are only 18 years old. They're still eligible to come back next year, and especially Team USA gives bigger roles to the older players, unless there's an exception, like a Jack Eichel or what Canada had with Bedard. You're not going to see an 18-year-old be on the top line or on the first pair on defense. But with the roles they've been given, they've had a really good tournament.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that Perreault is like killing it.
Yeah, the quarterfinals. Who did they beat in the quarterfinals? Latvia. They beat Latvia 6-1, I think. I don't know. I've seen so many hockey games that the scores all blur together at this point. But Perreault had 2 goals and an assist. Was the player of the game for Team USA, and that's kind of what you want for your players. Like, I don't really care too much about the group stage games. To me, it matters what they do in the quarterfinals, what they do in the semifinal and the final. Of course, against Latvia, that is not the toughest opponent, so it's still not a really good indicator. But 2 goals for him and an assist, a goal for Fortescue from the blue line, really solid. Yeah, today they play Finland. Either they just scored. It's 2-1. Either they win and they play the final against Sweden, or they lose and they play for the bronze against the Czech Republic. Sweden beat the Czech Republic 5-2 earlier today.
That's Sikora. No, it's Sikora's Slovakia, right?
Yeah. Sikora plays with Slovakia. They lost in the quarterfinals to Finland, I think.
Okay.
Did they?
This is Sikora's last. This is Sikora's.
Yeah.
This is Sikora's last.
Yeah. Yeah, this is Sikora's last. He's turning 20 in September, so he's not eligible next year.
Okay. Yeah. How did
He
he
was
do?
the captain. He was the captain for Team Slovakia this tournament, though. So that's a good sign.
Mm-hmm. But he play well too.
Yeah, it's a disappointing end for Slovakia to go out in the quarterfinals because this was their best generation in 2 decades, with not just him but also Filip Mešar, who was drafted by the Montreal Canadiens, Dalibor Dvorsky, who was drafted by the St. Louis Blues, and they had some guys who were not released by their teams who were in the NHL, like Slavkovsky, Simon Nemec. This was their generation, and to go out in the quarterfinals is disappointing. But Sikora was named one of the 3 players of the tournament for Slovakia. He didn't have the points that you want to see from a guy at age 19 at the World Juniors, but the fact that he was the captain for that team with so much talent on it, that's a positive takeaway for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's good to know too. Like he's a character guy.
Yeah,
that's good to have in the Rangers farm. So we've talked about it before. How the Rangers need to have those character guys that you could call up and use in your bottom six. And Sikora looks like he could be one of those guys.
Yeah.
So transitioning into the last stage here, we have to do the Ice Cold Take segment. Remember, folks, the Ice Cold Take is an accurate statement backed by facts and observations that is solid in nature, similar to a block of ice, i.e., spot-on claim. All right, Ice Cold Take segment. Steven, what you got for us? Got to make a prediction. Anything. NHL prospects. You could say pros in a score right now, or anything.
Do you remember what my cold take was last time?
No.
That Edstrom would be the first call-up of the young guys.
Oh, wow. You got it. You got it. Holy crap. Oh, my God. Ice Cold Take. Steven hit the nail on the head. Wow. I didn't even realize. Oh, my gosh. I'm so sorry.
Let's see. Ice Cold Take.
I'm predicting Othmann's stat line tonight. I'm saying he's getting 10 minutes of ice time tonight. He's gonna be like a bull in the china shop. I think he's gonna be juiced up with adrenaline. He's gonna have 5 hits and 3 shots on goal. I don't know if he's gonna score or not, but I'm saying 5 hits.
He's definitely spending time in the penalty box, for sure. The way he plays, that's a given. You know what? I think he's going to have a fighting major in his NHL debut. That's my take.
Okay. Maybe this Athanasiou is not on the Blackhawks still, is he?
Oof.
If he is, like, I would not be surprised.
Let's check the lineup for Chicago for tonight.
Jujhar. No, he's on the Wild. Jujhar is on the Wild. And
so it's Donato, Bedard, Kurashev. Then Nick Foligno, Dickinson, Blackwell.
Okay.
Reichel, Entwistle, and Goodman. And then Kachuk, Senny, and Reese Johnson.
Okay, so Athanasiou is not in the lineup.
No.
He is on the Blackhawks, though.
Oh, he is?
Okay. Yeah, it says he's on the Blackhawks, though.
Oh, yeah, he's on IR.
Oh. Maybe they go after Trouba. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, they have Beauvillier on IR, Tyler Johnson, Seth Jones, Joey Anderson, Taylor Hall, Athanasiou, and Taylor Radish. That's a lot of players on IR.
Yeah. So fighting major.
Tenorti would be an interesting one to drop.
Othmann versus Tenorti. He'll fight future Ranger Nick Foligno. Yeah, Nick Foligno's a 1-year deal. That would be interesting to look at. possible acquisition for the Rangers at the trade deadline. Uh, but Othmann, a fighting major, and for me, Othmann 5 hits, 3 shots. I'm saying no goal, no points tonight. I'm saying he'll be noticeable for sure, because when Othmann played like in the preseason, I noticed like he was like all juiced
Well,
up and stuff.
if you
He
think
had
back
that.
to the if you think back to the Ducks game in December where Edstrom made his debut, if he had not scored that goal in the final few seconds, we still would have all said he had a really good game. He was very
Oh
noticeable,
yeah, absolutely.
and he
That
only
was like a
played nine
reward.
minutes.
He earned that goal.
Yeah, he only played 9 minutes, but he was very noticeable. He's also a really good skater, by the way. I think people underestimate how good of a skater Edstrom is.
Yeah, for a guy that's 6'7".
No, but even like I hate it when people say he's a good skater for a tall guy because that would insinuate that he's not really a good skater. But even like Adam Edstrom is a good skater for a guy that's 6'2", and he's 6'8".
Oh, he's 6'8".
He's six
Yeah,
eight, and he skates like he's 6'2".
that's good. No,
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's
yeah,
yeah, that's like that. Isn't that like the size you want to be in the NHL, like 6'2", 6'4", something like that?
yeah. And this, like, I understand size is important. I think fans often put too much emphasis on it. Size is important. I don't think size is necessarily more important than talent.
No,
Like if two players, of course, like if you're talking about Hetman or Makarev, you pick Hetman because out of the two big players, he's the better one.
yes.
But you cannot convince me that anyone in the world would pick Dylan Makarev over Jared Spurgeon, who's what,
Yeah.
5'10" or 5'9" even. So anyway, USA just tied it up. Will Smith assisted by Gabriel Perreault.
Nice. There it is. Gabe Pro gets a point. Ties the game for the USA World Junior
Yep.
Championships. Very nice. Awesome. Also, wait, what if it's like Fox compared to Hedman? You know what I mean?
Fox compared to Hedman.
Because Fox is small, isn't he?
Yeah, Fox is 5'11".
Yeah,
Or
and Hedman is
5'10".
big.
I don't know. That's a tough one because they're both really good.
Yeah.
If you're talking about both in their prime, I'd probably
NHL
pick Hetman. I'd probably pick Hetman in his prime over Fox in his prime.
NHL GMs, I feel like, would do the same thing.
If you're talking about in 2024, I pick Fox over Hetman because he has so many years left in his career. But
oh yeah, absolutely.
but in their prime,
I also think a couple GMs would still pick Hedman. I still think a couple of
I
GMs
know.
would pick.
Yeah, like Hedman gets a lot of Norris votes based on reputation.
Right. Exactly. Like the same deal with like Seth, why the Blackhawks traded for Seth Jones, like based on reputation. You know what I mean? Like, not
Yeah, that's
that
probably
good.
the worst. That's probably the worst contract in the league.
Yeah,
I
man.
don't know. Maybe it's Huberdeau, but
Oh
Seth Jones
yeah,
gets
now
every
that one's
top three.
bad. And it just started. That's a bad one.
Yeah.
Bad one. All right. Well, Steven, you have anything else to add before we wrap this one up? This is a lovely.
Just watch the game tonight and enjoy whatever Othmann does on the ice. Don't get too hung up on him not scoring if he doesn't.
Yeah, I agree with that. I will try my best to pay as much attention to this game tonight. I will be working, but I will have the game on in the background. I'll be listening on the radio when I'm taking my deliveries. I'm glad I didn't pay enough attention to that game against Carolina because for everything I've heard, it was not good at all. Rangers got
That's an
completely outplayed.
understatement. It was absolutely terrible.
Yeah. And I saw some people say like, "Oh, the Rangers were outplaying them through the first two periods." I'm like, "Wait, what difference does that make? They were losing like 4-1, 5-6-1 by the third."
The untimely penalties killed them in the first 40.
Yeah.
But special teams, Carolina was miles better.
Looked like the Rangers didn't have anything on the power play.
No.
Yeah, that's what I was able to see. But like, that's what.
One more thing, by the way.
Go ahead.
If Chris Kreider scores tonight at the Garden, he will have the most goals at the current Madison Square Garden out of any player in NHL history. He's
I thought he
currently
broke that record.
no, that was the record for postseason and regular season combined. But just
Oh,
regular season, he's tied with Rod Gilbert at the moment with 149.
okay. Okay. Oh, okay. So he's got to get one more to get just the regular season record.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, Ice Cold Takes fans, that was a very awesome episode. Enjoy Othmann's debut, Brennan Othmann's debut for the New York Rangers tonight on Thursday against the Blackhawks. Hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Happy New Year, and we'll see you guys next time.